Thank you so very much. Welcome back to the second half now. Completely new group of singers on stage here. We'd like to begin with a piece that I wrote a couple of years ago. I have a 12-year-old boy. I mentioned him in the first half. His name is Esh. While Esh was growing up, I probably read the book Goodnight Moon to him 1,000 times. I'm really not exaggerating. And somewhere around the 500th time of reading this to him, laying in bed next to him, it started to sound like music, it started to sound like lyrics. So I eventually just started singing it to him, and then I formalized it, and that's what we'll perform for you now. We're joined for some small solos here by the luminous Sarah Jean Ford, and Sarah will join us later on for a much bigger solo. Thank you so much. 7 years ago now, one of my best friends in the world, Omar Crook, decided to get married to one of my other best friends in the world, Amy Arms. And for their wedding, Omar asked me would I set his favorite poem, E. E. Cummings' I Carry Your Heart With Me. And I really tried. I tried 6, 7 different versions of it. I just couldn't find the music in the poem. The poem was so good, so exquisite. So instead, I just had a bunch of wine and made the worst best man speech in history. And then a year and a half ago, I was sitting at the piano and I found just 2 chords in a row, just stumbled on them. I wasn't even thinking about this poem. And I realized, oh, that's the key for I Carry Your Heart. And so I wrote it relatively quickly and then invited them to a choir concert. They didn't know what was happening and surprised them with it as a little anniversary present. So this is I Carry Your Heart.
My
Thank you. Way back in 1991, I had just begun composing music. I was a student at the University of Nevada, Las Vegas, and while in Las Vegas, I experienced one of the most extraordinary natural phenomenon in my lifetime. We were staying out at a lake, and there were a bunch of us out there, and as we were sitting in the afternoon sun on the water, you could hear crickets and birds and all manner of insects and animals in the valley. And slowly over the mountains were rolling these Steven Spielberg-like black clouds towards us. And as the clouds got about 3/4 of the way over the lake, every living creature in that valley stopped making noise at the same time. You could feel something was going to happen, and then this extraordinary cloudburst. And we got drenched in it, much like tonight, now that I think about it. And so I decided to try to capture that in music, and I found this poem by Octavio Paz, the Mexican poet. We'll be singing in Spanish. I think the poetry, the translation is printed in your program if you happen to have it. It's beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. This is Cloudburst from 1991. Thank you so much. It's raining inside as well. By the way, fantastic job. Perfect, right? So the next piece that we'll do is brand new. In fact, so new that I was making changes to it yesterday in rehearsal with the singers. This is part of a much larger work that I'm writing right now called The Sacred Veil. And the poet, Charles Anthony Silvestri, has been my best friend for the past 27 years and also a longtime collaborator. Together we wrote Lux Aurumque, Sleep, which we'll do later on, a piece called Leonardo Dreams of His Flying Machine, over a dozen pieces that we've written together. 12 years ago, Tony Silvestri lost his wife to ovarian cancer. He was left with a 6-year-old and a 3-year-old, really just atom-bombed his life. And Tony, just in the past year or so, has decided he's ready to write about this, to try to process all of this. And he started by writing a poem called The Sacred Veil, just a very simple 11-line poem. And in it, there's this idea that there's this veil, this ribbon of energy between the world of the living and the world of the past. And that in moments of birth or death, this veil gets very, very thin. So thin that those who have passed are just here, just right here, saying back, I am here, I'm here. It's this beautiful poem. And so what we did is we sat down and we took each of the 11 lines and thought we'll have 11 movements in the piece. And we'll try to tell the story of this being that starts on one side of the veil, is birthed into this world, is a child, a sensual world, falls in love, has children, works, gets sick, passes, and then calls back from the other side, I'm here, each of these movements. And so for this night, this piece is commissioned by DCI-NY. I asked Tony to write about the moment that he knew he was in love with Julie, with his wife. And Tony said it was very simple. He said that they were on their second date. They were in Los Angeles and in the Getty Villa there, overlooking the ocean. And he was listening to her talk. He can't remember at all what she was saying, but just remembers thinking to himself, you feel like home. So the name of this piece is Home. This is about that first moment that he fell in love. As part of the much larger work, this will eventually be with some chamber instruments and choir. It'll be semi-staged, but it'll also have electronica. And I'm thrilled to say that I'm collaborating with the electronica artist and Radio Lab genius, Jad Abumrad, who is here with us tonight. Please welcome to the stage, Mr. Jad Abumrad. Thank you. And now for something completely different. Again, back when I was a student, I came up with this, what I call the oven mitt technique. And basically, I would sit in a practice room at a piano and pretend like I had oven mitts on, like this, all right? And then play all the white keys on the piano like this. College thing, I guess, all right? So then much later on, I decided that I wanted to write this set of pieces called The City and the Sea. I spent a lot of time at both. And so I found 5 poems by E.E. Cummings that were either about the city or about the sea, and then set them so that all 5 movements use this technique, this oven mitt technique. So you'll see Kelly Lynn here as she's playing. Sometimes she's banging away on the piano like this, like she's got the mitts on. Sometimes she plays that shape in arpeggios, but always the oven mitts and always the white keys. So these are 5 songs now, The City and the Sea. Good, thank you so much. Just two more pieces now. Forever, I've wanted to make a cover of the rock song Hurt. Hurt was originally written by Trent Reznor and Nine Inch Nails back in the early 90s. I fell in love with it then. And then it was covered very, very famously by Johnny Cash right before he died. Even Trent Reznor, when hearing Johnny Cash's version, said, it's his song now. I've loved the words forever and wanted to do my own, so that's what we'll perform for you tonight, is a cover of the rock song Hurt. Please welcome back to the stage, Miss Sarah Jean Ford.
It's okay, it's really tight, you're very strong. Okay.
Thank you, Sarah Jean. The last piece that we'd like to perform for you tonight is called Sleep. So back in the year 2000, I was contacted by a woman in Austin, Texas, who wanted to know would I be willing to take a commission to write a piece in memory of her parents who had recently passed. They'd passed within just 3 weeks of each other after more than 50 years of marriage. And she wanted to know would I set the family's favorite poem, Stopping by Woods on a Snowy Evening by Robert Frost. You may know it, it ends with the lines, and miles to go before I sleep, and miles to go before I sleep. So I asked her if she would let me think about it. She said, yeah, so I hung up the phone and I really thought about it. First, I wasn't sure that I could write music that would do justice to these two people who had obviously lived a rich and full life, they made a beautiful family, been married for 50 years. And also, I didn't know if I'd be able to set the poem. You know, some poems don't need my help at all, they're just fine. So I memorized the poem, and I lived with it for about a week and a half, and this little the piece was finished, we went to put it into the publication process. So we wrote a letter to the Robert Frost estate saying, we just need you to sign off permission so that we can publish the music here. And Robert Frost estate wrote back and said, no. So I wrote back and said, maybe you don't understand, I worked really hard on this. But also, all we're trying to do is glorify the poem and the poet and maybe introduce his works to a whole new generation of listeners and singers. And they wrote back and said, no, and if we find out that it's been performed publicly, we will sue you and the choir. You're free to use it when it becomes public domain in the year 2038. So I thought I had another trunk song, right? One of these songs that gets cut from a show and just put in the trunk and hope one day something will happen with it. And I got the idea to call Charles Anthony Silvestri, the same poet that I talked about, Luke Sarumkoy, the same poet who I'm working with on The Sacred Veil. So I called Tony and I said, all right, I need a poem with the exact metrical structure as the Robert Frost. And there's all these places in the music where I've painted his words musically. I need you to find words that justify the thing that the music's doing. And then it ends on this meditation, the word sleep, over and over and over. Go. So this was like a Friday night, about 8 o'clock, and he calls me Saturday about 8 in the morning and says, I think I got it. And what had happened, he had started to write the poem, and then his then 3-year-old son just couldn't get to sleep. And he was playing the games where, if the blanket's up here, then it's okay, but if your toe's sticking out, the monster can get it, and you drink a water. And Tony was reminded what a big deal sleep is for children. It's this huge, mysterious world, and you don't know. Do you close your eyes and it's all going to be there the next morning? It's this quite wondrous thing. And so Tony wrote about that, about his son struggling to go to sleep. And when I paired it with my music, it took on this whole new dimension, had this effervescence that the original never had, where the Robert Frost poem was very much about death and dying. Tony's had this expansiveness, this energy to it, and I can now say I like Tony's poem much better than that stupid Robert Frost poem. Before we perform that, though, I would be remiss if I did not thank DCINY. DCINY has been doing this for 10 years now. This is their 10-year anniversary. And I think somebody was saying this is my 15th, 15th concert with DCINY. They've commissioned several pieces from me. They've brought singers from all over the world doing these extraordinary concerts. And I'm just so very, very grateful for all they do. Thank you, DCINY. And last but not least, just that if you'll notice that both halves, nobody up there is holding music. So that means they showed up to rehearsals completely memorized. They had to be note perfect the moment that we started rehearsals on Friday. It's really the only way you can pull off a big concert like this in such a short amount of time. That is because of one thing, and that's because of their teachers, their conductors. We had some of them come out the first half. There is no more noble profession than teaching, and we are grateful to all of them for the work that they do. We'd like to end this concert now by performing Sleep.